Okay, we actually have a lot of content today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're so excited to show you what we have in the latest release of TaroWorks Enterprise, which now has shipping. My name is Erin Yamaoka. I'm your host today from TaroWorks, and today's presentation will be given by our very own Billy Cohen from the TaroWorks Services team. So this new functionality in this release is to support shipping. So we did want to get a little more information about the kind of shipping that you do at your organization. So I'm just going to launch a couple of polls and then go through the housekeeping roles. The first poll is to get an idea of the average length of a shipment at your organization. Is that usually in terms of hours, days, or weeks? Okay. And we have just one more question. All right, and then what is the maximum length of a shipment for your organization? As you guys are answering that, I'll just go through some of the housekeeping rules. This session is recorded and could be shared on our website or YouTube channel. Everyone's going to be muted by default, but if you have questions at any point in the presentation, just feel free to type them into the chat and we'll try to pause and get it answered. Or if you prefer to ask your question, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. So feel free to introduce yourself if you do ask your question in person so that you can meet the rest of the community when you're asking your question. Okay, I think that should be it. If you look at the results of that last poll, the maximum length of a shipment for the audience can be in days or weeks, which will be interesting and useful for some of those longer haul shipments in the functionality that Billy is going to demo today. So without further ado, Billy, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Erin, and welcome everyone. As Erin said, my name is Billy and I am part of the services team here at TaroWorks. And for today's showcase, we are really excited to take you through a deeper look into our TaroWorks add-on called TaroWorks Enterprise.
Yes. Sorry, Bill, sorry to interrupt, but you might have to reshare your screen because I passed the sharing back to you.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you see my screen now?
Yep, you're good.
Awesome, great. Yeah, so as I was saying, we're really excited to take you through a deeper look into our TaroWorks add-on called TaroWorks Enterprise, and also including our brand new order status called Shipping. And so firstly, for those of you that are new to TaroWorks, TaroWorks is an offline mobile field services application that helps organizations coordinate their field agents working in some of the most remote places on Earth by extending Salesforce.com functionality to mobile devices offline. TaroWorks has helped organizations that have been struggling to coordinate with their field staff that range from sales to warehouse managers, to maintenance staff, to M&E staff, due to a lack of connectivity in the field. So TaroWorks offers these organizations a way to centralize their data, coordination, and business processes by facilitating business processes with offline team members, ensuring data accuracy at the point of data collection using validation rules. By extending Salesforce.com functionality, we can see real-time updates of reports and dashboards, and then also allowing organizations to track the performance of their field officers, as well as allowing the field officers to track their own performance. So after implementing TaroWorks to over 100 customers in more than 45 countries, we were seeing trends in requests from our customers to not only track field activities, but to track things being distributed by their organizations. For everything from sanitary pads to solar lamps to seedlings, our customers were experiencing the same recurring pain points. These include stockouts, shrinkage, lack of visibility into inventory in transit, as well as insufficient data for effective procurement. So the need remained the same. I need visibility into real-time inventory levels and product movements for auditing, financial reporting, as well as demand planning. TaroWorks Enterprise is our answer to that need, and it's available now. And TaroWorks Enterprise is for organizations that are operating in places without consistent access to a network, but focuses on offering offline mobile inventory management functionality within Salesforce. TaroWorks Enterprise includes 3 core modules: purchasing, inventory management, as well as sales. I'm going to go through a quick overview of each of these. So firstly, the purchasing module helps track the procurement of supplies and goods for your organizations. So purchasing is facilitated through what we call a purchase order within TaroWorks Enterprise, which will increase your inventory levels when new items come into the ownership of your organization. Next, we have the inventory management module. So this tracks the movement of goods within your organization. The inventory management module sort of comes into effect once goods have already entered your system, yes. And product movements within your organizations can be recorded by what we call a transfer order. And this order type will decrease inventory at your source warehouse and increase inventory at the destination warehouse. And finally, we have our sales module. And this is how you remove inventory from the ownership of your organization. This is facilitated through a sales order, which will decrease your inventory levels when items are sold to customers or beneficiaries. So before we get into the actual product, we wanted to define some terms that you'll hear throughout the rest of the presentation, as well as the demo. So firstly, we have a location, which is a grouping of warehouses. A warehouse, which is either a physical or virtual place where inventory is stored. An inventory, which is a combination of a warehouse and a product. So for instance, we can say inventory 001 is the amount of home 120s we have in our consumer warehouse. An inventory movement is generated every time a product is either bought, sold, transferred, or adjusted. A Tara order represents a group of products that are moving together. A Tara order line item describes a single product within that grouping with information like the quantity ordered, the quantity delivered, etc. An inventory adjustment is a way that you record unplanned changes in inventory levels, for instance, damaged product. And the cycle count is an auditing procedure to shore up your physical inventory with the levels recorded in your system. So each inventory in TaroWorks Enterprise has 4 different quantities associated with it. Firstly, we have the quantity on hand, which is the amount of items that are physically present within a specific inventory. Quantity committed, which is the amount that has been reserved on outbound orders from a particular inventory. Quantity available, which is the amount that are physically available that have not been committed. So in effect, this is the quantity on hand minus the quantity committed. And the quantity on order, which is the amount that is on its way to a particular inventory on an inbound order. So whether it be a purchase, transfer, or sales order, each Tara order has 3 main statuses at both an order as well as an order line item level. These are draft, confirmed, and completed. For transfer orders and sales orders, however, there's an additional optional status called shipping. In a draft status, the order can still be edited and is considered a work in progress, and so there's no impact to inventory. Orders enter a confirmed status at an order level, and once an order is confirmed, the statuses of all its order line items will also become confirmed. The confirmed status creates reservations at the source and or destination inventories, depending on what type of order it is. We then have the shipping status. And the purpose of the status is to update source inventories when product is shipped. So shipping happens at an order line item level, and once an order line item is shipped, reservations, i.e. the quantity committed at the source inventory, as well as its quantity on hand, are updated based on how much product was shipped. Once all of the order line items are in a ship status, the order itself becomes in a ship status as well. And finally, completion also happens at an order line item level. Once an order line item is completed, reservations are removed and the quantity on hand is updated based on how much product has been delivered. And similarly to shipping, once all order line items are on an order are completed, the order moves into a completed status as well. So all these terms that we've just gone through will become a lot clearer as we go through the demo. Without further ado, let's jump into the context of the demo for today. So today's demo is from the org of our fictional customer called Solarcom. And Solarcom is a social enterprise that does last mile distribution of renewable energy products. And some of the TaroWorks Enterprise users that we'll be visiting in Solarcom today include the procurement office, who are responsible for vendor and supply chain management, a warehouse manager, who is accountable for the inventory and transactions within their warehouse, sales agent, who is accountable for generating and delivering on sales orders, as well as the executive, who is responsible for the physical and operational health of the company. And so we are going to take a look at the interactions with TaroWorks Enterprise from all of these perspectives. Also on the right-hand side, as you can see, today's operations are going to be happening in Kenya across our different distribution centers as well as our warehouses. So before we jump into the demo, let's look at some of the major pains that Solarcom was facing before TaroWorks Enterprise was installed. And these pains resulted in both decreased impact and revenue, as well as increased costs. So firstly, without centralized visibility into inventory levels, stockouts were frequent, forcing some managers to make emergency local purchases at higher levels, or at higher prices. Without field visibility to inventory levels, sales couldn't accurately communicate timelines for fulfillment of orders, leading to disappointed customers. And without an inventory trail on inventory movements, an audit trail, sorry, there was no way to enforce accountability on inventory shrinkage, which was becoming a uncontrollable cost for Solarcom. And not having any records of pending or historical movements, Solarcom was lacking the data they needed to inform their demand planning, which eventually led to stale inventory and increased costs. Okay, so the demo today, we are going to walk through a couple of different processes at a high level. And the first process we're going to walk through is basically how products move through the Solarcom org. So firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to make a purchase of some products that we need from a supplier. Those products will then be received by our distribution center. The distribution center will then send some of those products within the organization to another warehouse, where a sales agent will then make a sale on some of those products. We're then going to look at and cover some other either once-off or sometimes ad hoc processes that are tools to manage your inventory. So we're going to look at local transfer orders, cycle counts, inventory adjustments, as well as viewing inventory levels. So without further ado, let's jump straight into TaroWorks Enterprise. We'll do this if there are no questions on what we've covered so far or what we're going to be covering.
None so far. You can go ahead and dive in.
Okay, so I am now logged into to Salesforce, and as you can see, TaroWorks Enterprise is a separate application to TaroWorks. It's actually an add-on to TaroWorks. So you would need to have TaroWorks installed in order to install and use TaroWorks Enterprise. And to start off this demo, I am logged in as the procurement manager. And so I want to see if there's any inventory that I would need to purchase. So as you can see, that I've opened on a report that shows me low inventory by product in Nairobi. So as you can see here, we have two products with low inventory, the Home 120 and the Pico Plus. With every inventory, there's another field called the restocking level. And so for the Home 120, we want to have at least 45 units in inventory at any time and 50 for the Pico Plus. But at the moment, we only have 32 Home 120s and 43 Pico Pluses. So we are going to make an order to get some more of these products. So to do that, I'm going to create a purchase order. So I've clicked onto the Terra Orders tab. I'm going to create a new purchase order for today. The order will start in draft status, and I want this order to be received at the distribution center in Nairobi. We'll say that we would like this order to be delivered on Monday the 16th. And we are going to order this from our favorite supplier, Brenda Smith at Solar City. Click Save. Now we're going to add products to this order by adding Terra Order line items. So they would also start in draft status. And so we need at least 13 Home 120s. So let's order 20 Home 120s, and we need at least 7 Pico Plus. So we'll order 15 of those. So I'm going to order 20 Home 120s. And then $15 Pico Plus. And so now it's been a few hours. We've spoken to Brenda at Solar City, and she's updated us on some of the costs. So we can go ahead and update the order with the transportation costs, which she said would be 1,000 shillings. And we can go ahead and update the unit costs. For the Home 120, she said we would get it at 5,500 shillings per unit. And we can actually go ahead, And for the Pico Plus, she said we could get them at 3,500 shillings per unit. And so once we have all this information, we can then go ahead and confirm this purchase order. And now we are expecting this purchase to arrive. So I am going to now log in to TaroWorks as the Nairobi Distribution Center Manager. I work in the warehouse in Nairobi. And let's say now it is a few days later and a truck has arrived at the warehouse from Solar City with the product. So I'm first going to...
Billy, as you're going through, there's just been a request to slow down a little bit.
Oh, sure. Sure. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Josh, for being back.
Okay, yes. So as the Nairobi Distribution Center the manager, I am going to receive the product that came from Solar City. And so I first synchronized TaroWorks to receive any updates or information from Salesforce. I will then go into my job list, and we have a job called Receive Inventory, which I will click into. What we can look at quickly before is that if we go ahead now and refresh our inventory in Nairobi, we can see that we now have 20 Home 120s on order and 15 Pico Plus, because we have a purchase order in a confirmed status. Okay, we're going to select the order. So we can see here is the purchase order from Solar City. The truck driver has confirmed that the two products have arrived, the Home 120 and Pico Plus. Okay, the date of receipt will be today. And we've counted the product, and we do indeed have 20 Home 120s and 10 Pico Plus that have arrived. We can then take a picture of the delivery document, which I'm not going to display now. And then we're not expecting any more additional deliveries because all of the product has arrived. So, sorry about that. It was indeed 15. Okay. And so now we can go ahead and synchronize.
While that's syncing, we do have a question from Keith. Is it possible you've placed a purchase order, but yet in the confirmed status, and then raise another one as it's not showing as material planned to arrive? But maybe, I think, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're saying like if you've placed an order but you didn't confirm it, then is it possible that someone could make the mistake of placing the order again because it's not been confirmed? It won't be reflected as quantity that's on order. And I think that is true. I think, okay, yes, that's right, as it doesn't show on the unconfirmed. Exactly. So in order to place a reservation in inventory, what we call reservations are pending actions against inventory that haven't happened yet. That's driven by confirming an order. So we wanted to provide a status where things aren't being confirmed automatically when your order is still in progress, and that's the draft status. So once you confirm something is when you would see it. So I think from a business process perspective, you would confirm the order when you want your team to know that the order's been placed and that product's on its way. We have another question. Keith, let me know. Yes, Keith, let me know if that didn't answer the question. We have another question. Okay, great. How would someone track an approved request in the pipeline? This is a question from Joshua. I think by an approved request in the pipeline, is that request coming from maybe like the end of the supply chain, or do you mean a request from your organization to a vendor or supplier? And maybe Joshua, can I unmute you to, let me try unmuting you to see if you can clarify your question for the group. You should be unmuted, Joshua, if you want to, feel free to introduce yourself if you like, or can you clarify your question?
Oh yeah, I'm Joshua, and I'm the regional supply chain consultant for Days for Girls. My question was, I'm looking at a scenario whereby an order or a purchase order is approved by multiple authorities. Mm-hmm. How do you be able to check if it's been approved or not approved? It could be either way on the buyer side, but also on the seller side.
Sure.
And then, yes. And then maybe the second one is the interface can the interface for these templates be customated, maybe to have maybe a wider interface, like you can be able to see like multiple things?
Excellent question. Yes. So for the first part of your question, thanks, Joshua. There's standard Salesforce functionality around approvals. You could also customize them on your own. So what we're demonstrating today is kind of a example use case, but you could also customize by using some of the out-of-the-box like automation tools and Salesforce to create your own business processes or workflows. So for example, you could go through some levels of approvals and then automatically put the order into a confirmed status based on those series of approvals. So that is possible. TaroWorks Enterprise itself doesn't have that functionality out of the box. And then your second question about whether or not these views are customizable. Our objects ourselves are extendable. So if they're in any of these tabs, the kinds of things that we store information about in our product, if you have things that are unique to your organization that you wanted to add, you are free to do that. So you can add your own fields to our objects, or extend our tables to capture what kind of information you want. And then from those information, you can also choose where you want to display them and how. So all of these views are completely customizable to your use case. And Joshua, did that answer your questions?
Sure, I did.
Okay, great. Okay, and I think we're ready to move on for now, Billy, and I'll pause this again when we get another set of questions.
Great. Yeah, thank you for those questions. So just to recap, we've completed, or we've received the product now in Nairobi. So if we were to go ahead now and refresh the inventory, we can see that there's no more quantity on order, and the quantity on hand has now increased by that order. Great. So from the demo, so we have now made the purchase order and received the inventory. Now we're going to change hats, and we are now going to be the centralized planner. And what the centralized planner is going to do is look at the other warehouses and see if they need to be sent products from the Nairobi distribution center. So in this case, we're going to look at the Kisumu, a report that shows low inventory for Kisumu. And as we can see here, we have got a restocking level of 30 for Home 120s and only 24 quantity on hand. And similarly for Solar Lamp, we only have 16 and our restocking level is 30. So we are now going to send product from the Nairobi distribution center to the Kisumu warehouse. So as the centralized planner, I am going to create a transfer order in Salesforce. So I'll do it on today's date, also in draft. With transfer orders, we need to say where the source, location and warehouse are and where the destination is. So the source will be Nairobi and the destination will be Kisumu. We can say the product will be sent by hopefully Friday the 13th. And then we have this option for record shipment, which is either yes or no. If we select yes here, then the statuses will go through the shipping phase. So what will happen at some point during this order's life, the order will be shipped from the Nairobi warehouse to Kisumu, and we'll be recording that, which I will show you. So we're going to keep that as yes and click save. We're then going to add products using by adding Tara order line items, also in draft. So for Home 120, we said we wanted at least 6, so let's send 10. And then for the solar lamp, so we have 16, we need 30, so let's say we will send 18 of those. Click save. Again, we're going to confirm. So now we've confirmed that we can do this. We're going to move the order into a confirmed status. Click confirmed. And now I want to ship that order. So again, this is from Nairobi to Kisumu. So as the Nairobi distribution center manager, I have confirmed that we have this product in stock. And the day has come where I'm ready to now ship this product to Kisumu. So let's quickly have a look at the inventory levels there. So Nairobi inventory, if we refresh this, we can see we have some extra products. There was already some products committed, but then we have some extra product committed here. And if we look at Kisumu and refresh this, we now have this product on order, 20 home 120s and 30 and 18 plus 20 from another order, solar lamps. Okay, so now as the Nairobi distribution center manager, I'm now ready to ship this transfer order. So I'm going to use this job here. The order that I'm shipping is this one here. We do have multiple orders. We're going to ship all of the product. So the date shipped will be today. The requested date is in 2 days' time. And we are confirming that this order can be shipped. So I'm going to complete that and synchronize into Salesforce. And now, if we look at our inventories again, so if we look at Nairobi inventory, where we had quantity committed, and if we now refresh, both the quantity committed and the quantity on hand have both decreased because that inventory is no longer physically present within the Nairobi warehouse. But at the moment, the Kisumu inventory would not change because we have yet to receive the order in Kisumu. So now, using another log emulator here, so you can see I'm logged in here as the Kisumu warehouse manager. So I'm going to go ahead and synchronize any updates from Salesforce onto my device. Apologies. So I'm going to synchronize any updates from Salesforce onto my device. Okay, and I'm going to use the received inventory job. So here is the order. I'm receiving both of these products. The date of receipt is today, and we have confirmed, so the truck has arrived at the Kisumu warehouse, and as the warehouse manager, I've confirmed that there are indeed 10 home 120s and 18 solar lamps that have arrived. We can take a picture of the delivery docket. We're not expecting any more deliveries, and we can go ahead and synchronize this. And so now our Kisumu inventory, we are expecting the quantity on hand to increase and the quantity on order to be relieved. So we can see that the quantity on order has been relieved by the 10 for home 120 and 18 for the solar lamp, and there is the increase. What we can also see is the inventory adjustment that's happened at that point. So for each inventory, we can look at any of the movements that have happened for that particular inventory. So we are now in the inventory for home 120s at the Kisumu warehouse. So I can see here, the last one is an increase in 10. And we can see it was from a transfer order, the increased adjustment quantity was 10. And so we can track it like that. So now we have moved past to number 5 on this list. So from the Nairobi distribution center to the Kisumu distribution center, we created and confirmed, shipped and received a transfer order. And now I am going to log in as a Kisumu sales agent and make a sale. So I am going to log out and log back in as a Kisumu sales agent.
While Billy's doing that, I just want to add with TerraWorks, you might have lots of different personas or types of users that are going to be not have access to network, and you can configure which jobs and what data sets or warehouses each mobile user would have access to. Yeah.
Exactly, thank you, Aaron. And I think to show that, so logged in as the Kisumu sales agent, you can see that I have these 3 jobs available, whereas the warehouse managers had a different set of jobs available. So firstly, what I'm going to do is use this job here to view my inventory levels of a couple of products. So if I look at the Home 120, so I currently have 34 available. And 34 quantity on hand. And for the solar lamp, well, let's actually look at the Pico Plus. So I have 20 available to sell. And so as the sales agent, I know sort of what products I can actually go around and sell today. So let's say I've gone out on my sales trip and one of the clients is interested in making a purchase. So I'm going to go ahead and log that sale. The client is Barbara Levy, and she is interested in buying some Home 120s and Pico Plus. And the way that the sales process is set up in the Solarcom organization is that I will go out as a sales agent to the communities and make the sales, and then at a later stage I will go again and make the delivery of the products. So I am going to make the sale today and say that I will deliver the product tomorrow. But something to note here is that whatever your sales process is, it can be configured within TerraWorks and Salesforce. So for instance, if you have a point of sale sales process, that can be configured, or whatever else your sales process is. So now we're making the sales. So the unit price is usually 7,500, but if the customer buys 4, they would get it for 6,500 per unit for the Home 120s. And similarly, if they buy 6 Pico Plus, they'll get it for 4,000 rather than 4,500. But Barbara's only interested in buying 1 Home 120, but she would like the deal on the Pico Plus. So she'll buy 6 of those. And so we can see that the Home 120 costs 7,500 per unit, but because she bought the Pico Plus in bulk, it's 4,000 per unit, and the total amount due will be 31,500. And so, if we now go ahead and synchronize.
Another quick comment too, if you do have mobile money as a part of your sales processes, we have a mobile money integration in some of our clients' operating countries, or based on certain what country you're working in. You could have that mobile money transaction come back into your Salesforce org and also flow back out to TaroWorks, so you can see what's been paid for and what hasn't.
Great, thank you, Aaron. And so now we have made the sales. So the sales order is actually in a confirmed status. So if we go ahead and look at our inventory levels again, for Pico Plus, we can see that now we've committed 6 of them. And so the quantity on hand will be quantity available will be our quantity on hand minus the quantity committed. And similarly for the Home 120, we've committed 1 of them for the sale. So now let's fast forward to the next day, and we are ready now to deliver the products to the customer. So we will go ahead and execute this job here, the customer delivery. We see we have an order here for Barbara Levy. We had all the product in stock. The date of delivery will be today, and we are delivering what we promised. So 1 Home 120 and 6 Pico Plus. You can take a picture of the delivery document if you would like, and we are not expecting any more deliveries. And so if we go ahead now and synchronize, we're expecting our quantity on hand to decrease and the quantity committed to be relieved. So let's quickly look at that. So indeed, our quantity committed has been relieved and our quantity available has decreased by 1 for the Home 120 and by 6 for the Pico Plus. Okay. Awesome. So we've now gone through basically like a product life cycle within this organization, from purchasing the product to transferring that product around the organization to selling that product and committing it out of your inventory. And now, as we looked at before, we're going to look at some discrete scenarios within Solocone. So the first one we're going to look at is what we call a local transfer order. And the context for this local transfer order is that the Kisumu warehouse is experiencing a abnormal spike in demand, and they need product ASAP. And so instead of getting the product from the Nairobi distribution center, which is quite far away, they are going to ask the Nakuru warehouse if they have any product that they could spare to send to help with this increase in demand. So we are going to do that. So again, we'll start off as our Kisumu warehouse manager. And so we're going to perform this job here, which is create a local transfer request. And we need some Home 120 and Pico Plus from Nakuru. We're asking if it's possible to deliver it in a couple of days' time. And so we're going to ask for 8 Home 120s and 10 Pico Plus. And so what this will do now is it will create a transfer order in draft status that the warehouse manager at Nakuru will then go ahead and either confirm if they have the product, or they would cancel the order if they don't. So we are now going to log in as another user, the Nakuru warehouse manager. Spelled this here. Okay. And then once we are logged in here, we are going to look at see what types of local transfer requests we've gotten in, or if we do have any local transfer requests in here. And we can see here is the local transfer request from Kisumu. And so we'll have a look at what they have asked for. And so they've asked for 8 Home 120s and 10 Pico Plus. We can confirm that we actually can give them this product. So we're going to go ahead and confirm this order. And now if we go ahead and synchronize as the Kisumu warehouse manager, and we look at our inventory, we can see that we have 18 quantity on order from this order and another. And for Pico Plus, we have 10 on order. The process now would be, once the warehouse manager in Nakuru is ready to ship the order, they would go ahead and ship the local transfer request, and then the warehouse manager in Kisumu will receive that product when the trucks arrive. I'm not going to go through this now because we went through this when we looked at transfer orders a few minutes ago. Next one we have is a cycle count. And basically cycle counts can happen once a quarter, once a month, bi-monthly. And what they are it's a process to make sure that the inventory levels that are recorded in the system are shored up to the physical inventory that is available in the warehouse. And so essentially what a cycle count is it's a blind count of inventory in the warehouse. And then if there is a discrepancy or a variance with what's encountered to what's currently in inventory or in the system, then the user will need to provide a reason and and comments on why that is so. So the cycle counts don't necessarily need to be done by a warehouse manager. They can be done by an external third party or the finance team. But for our demo, we are going to do the cycle count as the super warehouse manager. And so let's say, I mean, you usually do the cycle counts for all the products, but we'll just do it for these two. One thing to mention as well with the cycle count is that in order for it to be accurate, the warehouse would essentially need to shut down for however long it takes to do the cycle count, because we don't want any products moving into or moving out of the warehouse while the cycle count is going on. We want it to be static for that time. And so the first thing the user will do is count the number of home 120s and Pico Plus physically. So they would go around with, be it a board or whatever. So they counted 50 home 120s and 45 Pico Plus. So that's actually a little bit unreasonable. Let's say they counted 25 home 120s and 28 Pico Plus. And so now we can see the variance. So the current quantity on hand for the home 120 is 33, but you counted 25, so there's a variance of 8. And for the Pico Plus, the current quantity on hand is 14, but 28 were counted, so there's a positive variance of 14. And so the user will need to give reasons as to why this is the case. So let's say possibly for the home 120s, the reason is that these products fell off the shelf. Sorry, oh, gosh, shelf, and so these reason codes are completely customizable to whatever your business processes are, and you can also set up validations to make sure the reasons make sense. So, for instance, a positive quantity variance and a reason code for product is called product loss doesn't really make sense. So I've set up a validation saying that that can't make sense. So it must be product found, and we can say Nakuru warehouse topped off product unexpected. Okay, and essentially what a cycle count is going to do is it's going to reset your quantity on hand. And so if we quickly look at the Nairobi inventory at the moment, so I'll quickly refresh here. So this is our current quantity on hand, but once we synchronize the results of the cycle count, and we refresh here, oh sorry, it wasn't Nairobi inventory, it was the Kisumu inventory. So the quantity on hand has been updated, but we can have a look at the inventory movement. And we can see this final movement here. From the cycle count, there was an adjustment quantity of 8 because of the product damaged. So next we're going to look at an inventory adjustment. And what an inventory adjustment is that it is a once-off incident that's occurred, and you don't want to wait for the cycle count to take place in order to shore up your inventory levels. So say for instance, a truck has run over one of our home 120s in the Kisumu warehouse, and we want to make sure that our sales team and the rest of the organization have access to accurate inventory levels. So we are going to make an inventory adjustment, basically just minusing that home 120 from our inventory to make sure that our inventories are accurate. So I'm going to enter the inventory adjustment job. I'm going to have an inventory adjustment quantity of -1 for product damaged, and we can say truck and over the product. And so the new quantity on hand after thinking will be 24. Awesome, so we can quickly just go and, sorry about that. Well, inventories, we can see that indeed our inventory is now, our quantity on hand is 24. For our last discrete scenario, we've gone over viewing inventory levels as the different users. And so, in summary, there are essentially 4 central benefits for using TaroWorks Enterprise. Anyone in your organization can have access to real-time inventory levels worldwide. Using inventory adjustments and cycle counts, you can identify when people, process, or technology need improvement. Using TaroWorks Enterprise, you can introduce accountability and control over your organization's assets. And finally, all this data can be used for better demand planning and making your operations more efficient. One thing also, and I think this is basically how it all comes together, is that TaroWorks and TaroWorks Enterprise are used for collecting the data and centralizing the data within Salesforce. But the power comes, or more power comes in that TaroWorks and TaroWorks Enterprise are built on Salesforce, and so we can make use of Salesforce's powerful reporting and dashboard functionality. So for instance, if as the executive, I want to basically have an overview of the inventories in my warehouse, as well as I want to keep an eye on for the adjustments that have taken place. So I've created a dashboard for the executive. And as you can see here, we've got various different charts. The first 2 show the different inventories currently in real time, what's going on in the warehouses. So we have the quantities in each of the warehouses, as well as the value of the inventory in each of the warehouses. And then these last 4 charts are the adjustments that have been made. And so, as we can see here, we can look at the different adjustments and basically dig deeper if we need to. So for instance here, we can see that in total there are 7 adjustments made this quarter, 1 of them by Nairobi and 6 by Kisumu. But from here we can see that the 1 adjustment made in Nairobi was for 55,000 Kenyan shillings. So what we can do, and that was for 10 products, so we can double click on the 10 products within that inventory adjustment and have a look to see what actually happened. So the adjustment was made by the Nairobi DC manager, and it was because the product was lost because there was moisture in the warehouse and the product was ruined. So as the executive, I can then reach out to the warehouse manager and find out more as what can happen. So using reports and dashboards allows you to be a lot more proactive with solving issues and understanding exactly what's going on in your organization. And so overall, with our full TaroWorks Enterprise system, we envision organizations who are better able and equipped to coordinate amongst many different types of roles, as you've seen in the demo today. And this allows you to get more transparency in your service and product delivery. And hopefully with better information, you're more equipped to provide better services and products to your customers. So thank you everyone for being a part of this showcase today. And I'm now going to hand it back to Aaron to answer any questions or any other questions you might have. Thank you. Over to you, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Billy, for that demonstration and presentation. I think that was helpful in highlighting the overall functionality of the system, but also our new shipping functionality. If anyone has any further questions, we just have a few minutes left, so please go ahead and type them in the chat, or feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to ask your question. First question to address, why is the shipping status optional? So I think it's configurable to your use case. So what the shipping status does, as Billy explained, is help you relieve inventory at your source inventory when you're either transferring product that you own from one warehouse to another, or when you're going to take it out of inventory to deliver it to a customer. I think this becomes most relevant in long haul shipping. So for some of our clients, they're putting product on a boat and it's traveling to different continents, and that could take months. And so the new functionality allows you to update that source inventory at the time it's leaving the warehouse versus waiting for it to be received at the destination, which is what the previous functionality did. With our new shipping status, you can use it as a default. Let's say in your organization, I always want to track shipping for transfer orders, but I don't need to track shipping for sales orders. You can define that default on an order type level, or you can also override that default on an order by order basis. So maybe for some instances, it's a really short amount of time where it's going to be shipped. You're just sending something across town. You're okay with not tracking or capturing the shipping information before it's being received. You do also have that possibility to override that default on an order by order basis. So it's optional in that it can be configured to your use case, organization by organization. I hope that answered the question. We have another question that's come through. But looks like it's been removed. Okay. Are there any other questions that we can answer today? If not, I think that concludes the webinar. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Billy, for the presentation. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact us. For our existing clients, you can reach out to your account manager, or you can also contact us at hello@TerraWorks.org. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day or evening.